Okay, very quickly, I want to address something before you skip ahead. Before you skip ahead, please watch this beginning part. Past lives are something I'm very, very connected with. And it's something I think more than most people, I have the ability to connect to them more than the normal person. Like even the normal like psychic person. So, with that, you need to understand something about past lives. Past lives are not the same. Like, you cannot do a general reading of past lives, which is counterproductive with what I'm doing. But what you need to understand is that if you pick a pile, as a fact, you will not connect with everything in this pile that you pick, or the multiple piles that you pick. You will not connect with everything. I know this for a fact because I know some piles have a mashup of contradictory cards. You'll find out what that means when I get into it. But the thing with the cards, not, like, everything isn't in one pile, so it's cut up into piles, so it's easier for you to connect to things. With past lives, I can't make the puzzle for you. I can hand you the pieces, but you have to put the puzzle together yourself. And because of that, I'm probably not going to get too much into the readings. I'm just going to explain things, but I'm not going to assume much of anything about your past life. So, of course, I'll, make pointers of certain things, but you have to understand that I can't give you all the answers. You have to connect things on your own. That's one of the things that, I've noticed in a lot of past life tarot card videos is that I know a lot. I know a lot of shit. A lot of really specific details about a lot of my past lives. And I've noticed when I watch tarot card videos for past lives, a lot of it doesn't match me at all, really. So, this is my take on it, and hopefully because of my past life spiritual connection and spiritual knowledge with past lives, hopefully this actually helps you. So, with that aside, let's get into it. You can skip ahead now if you want. And just so you know, this is not going to be the only past life video I will be making like this. This is probably going to be the first of a few, because I know there's so many variations with lives, so you can't have a one fits all. So I want to emphasize that. So, we know the drill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I was gonna do 10, but I decided not to, because that just seemed excessive. So, specifically what I want you to do for this particular pick card reading is to focus on a specific life. Only do one. That's key with these videos. You can only focus on one life, or else you'll get jumbled answers and it's just not working. Because of that, you need to focus on one life. And if you're not sensitive to lives, think about history class or geology class or something, and go back and remember the specific lessons or something that you remember actually enjoying, because I know a lot of people don't like history. I'm just one of those weird people that do, because I connect with my past life so much that I enjoy it. Just focus on a elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Like, focus on history classes. Like, did you enjoy when you learned about ancient Rome? Did you enjoy U.S. history? Did you enjoy learning about, like, the World War II or World War I? Think about that. And focus on it. And then pick a pile or pick multiple piles. Again, you're not going to vibe with everything in each pile, so you just have to connect dots on your own. I'm going to take a second for you to focus on the cards. Okay, pile 1. Ace of Cups, 4 of Cups, Princess of Swords, 4 of Pentacles, Sacred Space, Compassion. Okay. Okay, this pile actually kind of works decently. These are cards I made, and that's why I said with some things they could be jumbled up, because like I kind of peeked at like 1 or 2 piles, and there's like those piles had like multiple time periods and like multiple like locations, and I'm just like, that's weird. So this one actually like is actually kind of consistent, because this is the early Middle Ages, which is the 401 AD to 1010 AD, which is like around not, this is like earlier than like King Arthur age, so it's a little bit earlier than that. So the early Middle Ages is kind of that weird, awkward teenage phase between ancient times and legit Middle Ages that everyone knows. Because of that, people aren't generally drawn to it or know a lot about that time. Because when you think, like, when I think classic medieval times and classic Middle Ages, I think like the 1200s to like 1300s or 1400s. That's like the classic Middle Ages. Little history lessons. Anyway, so early Middle Ages, worker, family, and childhood. Obviously, those could, and farm, sorry, cards hide. So Middle Ages, worker, family, farm, and childhood. Obviously, like, this is a very heavy emphasis on farm working in general, everything about supporting family. Maybe there's an emphasis that happened in your past life for childhood. Maybe something happened in your childhood in that past life. Maybe you had, like, an emphasis on family and you just had a lot of kids and there was a lot of childhood dreams or something like that. Just, like, I'm spewing out ideas for you to, like, maybe click with. I'm gonna start with these because they're most basic. Okay. There's compassion and sacred space. Release judgments about yourself and others. Focus on the love and light and within everyone. Create an altar or visit a power place to connect with divine. This sacred space definitely could be an indication that you were religious somehow. If I'm correct, I think this was about the time where the Vikings were at their most powerful. Maybe not most powerful, but the Vikings definitely existed during this time. Like classic Vikings that you think of. This could obviously, for people that don't know, paganism actually was the main like religions in a lot of cultures before like Catholicism. Catholicism, sorry. And just so you know, religion was a heavy influence back in those days, so keep that in mind. But also compassion. I think this also connects with like the farm, childhood, family, like worker vibe I'm getting. I'm kind of sad that you didn't get a location, because like I had specific locations, but hopefully maybe you picked another card and that there's a location in that deck or pile and you click with that so you have more answers. Okay, Ace of Cups is like a positive omen of love and support. Four of Cups, there's 2 4s. I don't remember what exactly 4 means. The Princess of Swords, I think, heavy, like princess and like suit cards are usually represented by a person, so this could represent you or someone in your life that was important. So this is a princess card, so you are most likely female in this life. But then again, not everything is cut and dry with these things. So if you don't think or you don't vibe very well that you were female in that life, don't like fret. It's okay. But yeah, Princess of Swords definitely indicates that there was princess cards, particularly like princess and page cards are the same, but like princess and page cards kind of indicate this kind of free-spirited feminine energy. So this could be like easily be like a wife, a daughter, a sister in your life that was like a heavy influence for you. But it also could represent you. Yeah, as I thought, the aces usually are very, very positive, and aces, I literally just remembered, aces mean beginnings, most of the time, or not most of the time, always, because they're like 1, they represent 1. So yeah, that's like a very positive omen. I get a feeling this was a very fulfilled life. Like there was not a lot of conflict. Like it was very simple. It was very peaceful. I don't get a lot of conflict with this. I mean, fuck. Like you have the compassion card. I mean, come on. I'm getting a heavy, heavy, heavy influence that you, or again, someone really important in your life, but probably you, you had this tendency to have your head in the clouds and to hold on to things like childhood. You probably held on to your childhood longer than normal in those times, and you really wanted to focus on that. You wanted to be a kid. But back then, that wasn't really a thing. This is also kind of supported by the Princess of Swords, because swords in general are very, like, independent and just strong and independent. So you were, since it's even the Princess of Swords, you were kind of like probably this carefree person that was very independent, who wanted to do, like, bigger things, but maybe you just ended up working on the family farm when you were working a lot, and that's what you ended up doing. But I don't see, like, any conflict. You got married, you had a lot of kids, you died happy. I don't see really anything awful with this at all. So take that for as it will, because that shit's good, and I know that shit's not going to be common with a lot of lives. A lot of lives back then, especially in ancient times and like the Middle Ages, that shit was a shitstorm. Oh my god. You have no idea. But yeah. Just take this as a very positive omen of like, shit was good. You had a good life. It was very fulfilling. Maybe not as fulfilling as you wanted to do in those times, but the times you were in conflicted with that. So, that's that. So, yeah. Sacred Space, Compassion, Four of Pentacles, Four Cups, Princess of Swords, Ace of Cups, Childhood Farm, Family, Early Middle Ages, and Worker. Let me know if anything vibed. Not everything has to. Remember that. This is a ring of my mom's. I don't remember the shell, but this is a shell ring of abalone shell. Okay. Oh, you were probably female again in this life. Princess of Cups. Oppression. It's a very heavy indication of slavery. Or just oppression in general. Movement. The moon and movement reversed. Bodies of water. Prosperity. Okay, bodies of water is definitely an indication that you were probably in your seat 2 contradictory, 3 contradictory locations. Oh, yeah, wow. Well, shit. So, we have, 5 locations. 5 locations. Really? Really, cards, you had to. Okay, well. See, this is why I said you're not going to vibe with everything, because that's kind of impossible for one life. So, there's Southern Europe, and I will put up a picture of what exactly I mean by that. There is Northern Europe, which I will put a picture up of what I mean by that. There's Northern South America, which I will put a picture up for that. There's the North Pole, pretty much Greenland area. Eastern Middle East. I will put up a picture of what that means. So this is definitely a pile that I can't really tell you much about. Because everything kind of contradicts each other. The 2 cards of mine that I made that aren't locations is confused and gender fluid and gender sexual. So pretty much what I mean by that, you were either having trouble identifying as a male or female, or you were gay. Pretty much is what I mean. And the confused card definitely deals with that, because of course, like, I know in the beginning of knowing yourself, if you're like gay or you identify as another gender, you're very confused. Especially if this was like back in the day. You were oppressed because of that. Oppression. You were probably oppressed because you were gay or you didn't identify as the birth of your gender. Gender birth. Birth gender. What gender, whatever. Bodies of water definitely indicates, well, particularly particularly, like, movement in bodies of water definitely indicates that you could have, like, traveled a lot, or you, like, you traveled a lot. So that could be the reason why there's, like, so many fucking, like, location cards, is because you traveled a lot. And yeah, so that could be an indication of, like, maybe you visited all these places, and that's why. But again, that's just an idea thrown out there, so maybe you connect with it. Princess of Cups, Princess of Cups definitely indicates that you were probably female, or you identified as a female. But yeah. Also, the moon reverse also indicates secrets. Obviously, you keeping your secret of you being gay or not identifying with, like, the assigned gender. So you're obviously going to keep that secret. Also, the moon has an overlay of sexuality, so that could also be an indication of you secretly being gay. Prosperity is, like, kind of, like, the only odd one out with this, because, like, I see a lot of, like, confusion and secrecy and, like, some pain and stuff like that, and movement and travel. Prosperity could be you getting the prosperity you had when you moved around a lot. And maybe since reversed movement is reversed, this could be an indication maybe the move was not your idea, or you didn't want to move, but someone made you move. So this obviously could be an indication of, like, maybe you were caught, like, being with, like, the same gender, or, like, the person you thought had feelings for you, being the same gender, like, flipped out when you, like, made moves for them, and they, like, told people, and you had to move for that. So yeah, that's a definite vibe that I'm getting. But with this could obviously be an indication of you moving was actually a good thing. But again, I just see a lot of secrecy and oppression and movement and kind of just sadness a little. So, like I said, there's not a lot of definite stuff with this pile of cards anyway. So, Eastern, Middle East, which countries are that? Like, the Eastern Middle East is kind of like this bundle of, like, countries that is, like, in between, like, China and, like, Iran and Iraq and those countries. North Pole kind of doesn't really make sense, but yeah, I wrote it anyway. Northern South America, I think, is, like, Brazil and all the upper countries of South America. Northern Europe is Switzerland and Holland? No. You'll see in the picture. Southern Europe is exact opposite of Northern Europe. Southern Europe is, like, Turkey, Italy, Greece, Romania, those countries. So if any of those vibe with you, that's probably where you're from. I wish there was a time period for this, but there's not. And I'm sorry for that little abrupt noise. Yeah, I can't, like, dwell on this one as much because there's not enough information. So I hope what I said somehow vibes with you, so you can, like, have some answers, and hopefully, like I'm gonna say with every pile of cards, hopefully you were drawn to, like, multiple cards, so you have multiple pieces of the puzzle that you can put together. So, bloop. Okay. Pile 4. Beginnings. The Fool. Justice. 2 of Pentacles. 7 of Wands. 10 of Cups. And 7 of Cups. Kind of contradictory with each other. And then Medicine Woman and Boundaries. Warrior. Also could be a soldier. The Iron Age. For those of you that don't know, the Iron Age is way back then. Like, actually, I remember with a lot of the time period cards, I did actually put years, but I noticed that the Iron Age kind of, like, is different for every single, like, culture. Like, in China, it was, like, a shorter period, but for those of you who don't know, there's the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, and then the Iron Age. The Iron Age is actually the shortest of the time periods of those, but those are the times when, like, humans were starting to, like, use the materials around them. But yeah, smart, violence, war and violence, authority figure in Eastern Europe. Wow, that's, like, very, like, perfect a little bit, because it has, like, a time and a place, and it has some good matching cards. So not everyone is going to be in the Iron Age. Maybe some of you are. But this is Eastern Europe. This is... I'll put up a picture of what I mean by Eastern Europe, but it's, if I remember correctly, it's like Germany, and then a few other countries that I don't remember. But yeah, by the way, when you see locations like this is, like, locations that I've kind of divided up. These aren't actual scientific names, but the time periods are. Okay, so, alright. You were obviously heavy indication of violence, a lot of fighting. Also, an indication of that is the justice card. It's just, like, I mean, the goddess on the justice card is fucking Athena, the goddess of war. So, you were probably some authority figure, not like royalty or anything, but you were probably, if you're not connected to the Iron Age, you were probably, like, a high command in the military, or, like, just probably something to do with, like, the military, because, like, in ancient Egypt and ancient Rome, I'm gonna, like, for some reason, I'm gonna heavy influence of that. You were probably in the military, which means you were a man. Because, you know, sorry ladies, women didn't get to be in the military at all. Definitely the authority figure and smart definitely go hand in hand, because you have to be smart to be an authority figure. Again, violence and warrior, heavy influence on that. If anything, I'm also getting a heavy influence on the Germanic people. History lesson. Germanic people, Germanic aren't German. They're in the location of where modern day Germany is. And whenever I talk about these people think I'm making this shit up for some reason. But there was a group of people back then that were actually named Germanics. So they were kind of like Vikings, but not. Germanics and Anglos and Saxons were the people that the ancient Romans kind of invaded when they invaded up north into German territory, and then tried to invade the United Kingdom islands. So they were very heavy influence of Vikings and the pagan. You were most likely pagan if you were during that time. So I'm just getting a heavy influence of before the Middle Ages, so during ancient times. So Vikings, Roman Empire, Greece, Trojan War, ancient Egypt. During that time, I'm getting heavy influence. Medicine woman also kind of doesn't really work with violence and warrior, but this could vibe with someone else. Obviously, medicine women and medicine people in general were always a heavy influence and heavy in command with a lot of cultures. So if you were a medicine woman, probably authority figure of some kind. Boundaries. This obviously could be heavy indication of violence and being a warrior, because you gotta defend your territory and your land. Especially back then, because fuckheads existed. Just saying. Roman Empire. Those are the fuckheads. Anyway. The Fool beginnings. Obviously the Fool kind of represents that childlike wonder. Again, doesn't really match with the warrior violence authority figure. So obviously could match someone else. So there's that. And then Two Pentacles. Reverse particularly is kind of this influence of being not in balance, imbalanced. But twos of every card means balance of some kind. But reverse means you were probably not very balanced in your life. Somehow. Seven of Staves, Seven of Wands. That one I don't remember what it means. And Ten of Cups. It's just a very, 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 very positive card. Generally, that's the only positive card in this pile. Pretty much. Except maybe the beginning. It's kind of positive. Seven of Cups. Definitely, I've gotten this a lot. It means pretty much you need to make a decision. Stop focusing on multiple things. So with that, that could be an indication that maybe you wanted to be certain things, and maybe your class or your gender fucked with that somehow, and you were trying to make decisions of what you wanted your life to be, and you dwelled on that a lot. The Ten of Cups, though, could mean that, maybe your death wasn't, that bad. Or, near the end of your life was not that bad. But yeah, this is, again, you're not gonna vibe with everything. most likely not gonna vibe with everything because it's kind of weird if you did. But anyway, I'm getting like a heavy influence of like authority figure and like war and just territory and conquering and stuff like that. Defending your land and shit like that. Authority figure also, could mean royalty, but not in like the extent that you're probably imagining. When I mean like royalty, I mean probably you were like a chief of your village or a chief of like your land or something. But like you were probably not like the emperor of like fucking Rome. So yeah. Like I said, I can't tell you much about it. Okay. 10 of Cups, 7 of Wands, the Fool, 2 Pentacles reversed, Justice reversed, 7 of Cups, and then Boundaries and Medicine Woman. Love yourself enough to say no to others' demands on your time and energy. You are a channel for divine healing power. Okay, and then authority figure, Eastern Europe, violence, Iron Age, warrior, and smart. Okay, which pile are we on? 4, right? Is it 4? I'm sorry, I'm incorrect. Okay. I am sorry, guys, but when I focus on past lives and stuff, I tend to feel like shit eventually. And I'm not even, this is why I didn't want to do 10, because I knew I would feel like utter shit by the end of this. So, yeah. 5 of Cups, Fortune, also known as the Wheel of Fortune, King of Swords, Ace of Wands reversed, 2 of Cups, 10 of Wands. I see a lot of happiness so far, except that one. Fairness and independence. Both Egyptian goddesses, by the way. Atlantic Islands. This card, Atlantic Islands, was supposed to be kind of the card that represents all like the stray islands in the Atlantic Ocean that like people don't really know about. So that was that. Bronze Age. Alright. Rebellious. Travel. She. And then early modern period. So again, like, you can't vibe with everything because it's impossible to have 2 times for one life. And yeah. So heavy indication, obviously, like, you were probably alive during the Bronze Age or the early modern period, which was the 1500s to around the mid to late 1700s. So 1500s to 1774. And then again, she, obvious indication you were a woman. Travel, rebellious, you definitely high indication of you are your own fucking woman. So independent and rebellious. And travel. Atlantic Islands. This could be an indication of maybe you traveled and maybe you ended up landing on one of those, like, mysterious mystery islands in the Atlantic Ocean. Yes. So maybe you found one of those and you were traveling, or you went to one. So, by the way, early modern period, if I remember correctly, this was the time of the Renaissance, I think? Yes, because I know that in the 1700s, that's when, like, the Americas were, like, a thing, or forming into a thing, and I know, obviously, that during the Renaissance, the Americas wasn't really a thing, as much as it was later. So, yeah, this was I know it's kind of a broad time, but it was like that weird in-between stage of, like, U.S. history and, like, the Middle Ages. So, pretty much the Renaissance, pretty much. So, again, that's, like, also kind of matches the travel aspect, because a lot of fucking travel, yes. A lot of travel happened during this period, like, a lot. Like, this was, like, the time of exploration, this early modern period. So that definitely matches the vibe with these cards. The she, you being female, though, kind of doesn't match with it, because I know a lot of travels and, like, discoveries with travel weren't exactly a female thing. So that could also be an indication that you were a guy, because King of Swords obviously is a very masculine energy, so you could, with this one, you could easily be, like, a male or a female. Yeah. Ten of Swords. Ten of Wands reversed. The tens usually mean endings of certain things, are usually positive in most aspects. So, there's endings. There was some kind of ending of something. 2 Cups reversed. 2 Cups card usually means soulmate of some sort. It's the soulmate marriage card, pretty much, of the whole, like, tarot deck. Wheel of Fortune. I've noticed that the Wheel of Fortune kind of does represent, like, this, like, movement vibe, especially with this deck, because they're on a fucking bird flying. So, but it also means change of some sort. So maybe something drastic happened in your life that made you travel, maybe. Ace of Wands, again, all aces mean, like, beginnings of some sort. So you have, like, so it's a little weird, because you have the beginning and the end both reversed of the wands. So you went on some kind of journey. Obviously, this is also an indication of the travel thing. So you went on an emotional journey, or you actually went on a physical journey. So, Wheel of Fortune also, again, kind of that positive movement vibe. The 5 of Cups, I just had a realization. You could have been a pirate. because I know female pirates were a thing. Like, they were actually a thing. Obviously, because there's, like, famous female pirates. So, you could, like, equally be a male or female pirate. And that could also, like, be an influence on the rebellious and the independent card. Because, obviously, people become pirates because rebellion and rebellious and independent and shit. So, which card did I mention that something bad happened, maybe? I don't know which card, but I remember mentioning it. But, like, maybe something happened, and maybe because of that event, you became a pirate. And you were already probably leaning toward that lifestyle already. So, you traveled. And I think, obviously, it was good for you in the way of, like, being free, but I don't necessarily think you were very fulfilled, maybe? Because maybe you found, maybe what triggered you going on this, journey and traveling and maybe becoming a pirate, is maybe you lost, like, a loved one. Like, maybe you were actually married and, like, your spouse died. Or you had a lover that you really, really loved, who was your soulmate, and they died. And, like, this sparked this journey, and that could be an indication of why these are reversed. Because, like, the journey started because of this tragic event that happened. So it's a little bit of a twisted reason to start this journey, and that's why your journey ends twisted too a little bit. I'm really sorry, but I don't think your death was the most pretty, if that makes sense. I'm not saying you were killed or anything, but you didn't die of old age. I'm getting the feeling that you didn't. But yeah, you I hope some of that vibed with you somehow. Rebellious, she, early modern period, 1500s to 1774, Atlantic Islands, Bronze Age, 33,000 BCE to 1200 BCE, and travel, independent and fairness, Ace of Wands reversed, Two of Cups reversed, Five of Cups, Wheel of Fortune, King of Swords, and Seven of Wands reversed. Pile 5. Of course, the one with the quarter has a bunch of pentacles. 10 of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles, Prince of Pentacles, 8 of Wands, and the Prince of Swords. 2 princes, probably a guy. Divine passion and guiding children. Obviously, heavy influence on money, and heavy influence that you were probably a guy. Multiple, I have no idea what that means. That was for a different kind of card. Video. Spouse, unrequited love, Russia, Pagan in nature. So, obviously, pagan in nature is a heavy influence that you were probably, obviously, pagan, and you were probably very connected to the pagan nature aspect of paganism, which means you were probably existing in ancient times, and in Russia, I think, during, back then, I think Russia was mostly the Huns, I think, and the Mongols. The Huns and the Mongols, I know Russia wasn't, a definite country back then. It was just, kind of overrun by the, nowadays Chinese, but particularly the Mongols and the Huns kind of dwelled in the Russia area. So if that makes sense with you, that's definitely works. But again, this could be a modern kind of Russia. Multiple, I have no idea what that means, but spouse and unrequited love could definitely indication of maybe you didn't marry the person you wanted to be with. 'Cause, again, maybe you were, a heavy indication, maybe you were gay. Maybe you were a guy and you wanted to marry a guy, but you couldn't because back then that shit didn't happen. But maybe you had to marry someone you really didn't fucking like, but, again, you being gay doesn't have to be, definite. Neither does you being pagan or into nature have to vibe with you either. But 8 of Wands, 3 of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles. 10 of Pentacles is very positive in general. It, pretty much, means, you were very rich, probably. Again, the Prince of Pentacles coming up. Again, you were probably very rich. 3 of Pentacles. What do 3 means? I'm sorry, I feel like shit. But I know me feeling like shit kind of means shit. I'm doing the right shit, so that probably didn't make any sense to you. But I feel like shit, so that's my excuse. Guiding children kind doesn't really work with anything. Really, divine passion could be a connection to paganism of some kind, maybe. But this also could be could be you had multiple kids. Maybe. Also, for those of you that don't know, unrequited love means love, one-sided love, a friend zone type of shit in modern day lingo. It pretty much means you were friend zoned. Pretty much. So, you being gay could probably be you got friend zoned because the guy probably wasn't gay. Again, 3 of Pentacles, positive omen of you being rich and well off and shit. But, the 8 of Wands reversed is a heavy indication of guilt. So, again, that could be drawn back to the unrequited love and the spouse thing. Maybe you, felt guilty, something happened in that situation, or maybe you felt guilty toward your spouse because you didn't really love them in the first place. Maybe you learned and grew to love them, but maybe you just didn't at first. Like, maybe it was like an arranged marriage, most likely an arranged marriage back then. You didn't love them, at least at first, and that, like, got you really guilty. So that's literally all I can come up with for this. So hopefully some of this vibed with you. Multiple, pagan, Russia, unrequited love, spouse, nature, divine passion, guiding children, Prince of Swords, Eight of Wands, Prince of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles, and Ten of Pentacles. I apologize for the weird, rattly mouth wet noises. Hey, if you're into ASMR, you'll love this shit. But I am sucking on a candy to help myself not die of feeling like shit. So let's get into pile 6. I have no idea why, but a lot of my pick card readings, for some reason the amethyst decides to pick pile 6 a lot of the time. Ooh, heavy female presence. Fertility, Queen of Cups, Strength, Five of Wands, and Nine of Swords. Not very happy. But you have Easy Does It and Unconditional Love. Western Middle East, Teacher, Good and Light, Age Revolution, 1774 to 1850, China, Mongolian, Taiwan, Past Life, duh, Poor, and Stone Age. So again, you're not going to vibe with everything because that's kind of impossible. Okay, 2 places. So, you were probably in the Western Middle East, around there, or in China, Mongolia, or Taiwan. Yes, Taiwan. Taiwan. Western Middle East, I'll put up a map of what I mean by that, but it's Iraq, Iran, around there. Age of Revolution, it's pretty much a very, very specific time period, but pretty much when, like, all these revolutions were happening, like the French Revolution, the American Revolution, all that shit kind of jumbled up in, like, a few years, or the Stone Age, which is, like, literally the oldest humans ever. So, again, like, for the Stone Age, that obviously does kind of match with, like, the locations, because that's kind of where the majority of older humans in the Stone Age kind of lived. Or at least migrated to after they, like, kind of, like, were there in Africa a bit. Obviously, like, you were good. You were a good person. You were probably a teacher of some kind. But you were poor in past life is useless card. Why did I put that in the pile? Okay, fertility, highly sexual card, highly female card. If I remember correctly, fertility is the high priestess. So, very sexual, very feminine. And then you have a Queen of Cups reversed, very feminine. So, again, like, you were female, most likely. Strength card. This could be a heavy indication of, like, you being strong because you didn't have, like, the best life ever. But you were... Yeah, you didn't have the best life ever. Because Nine of Swords is very depressing card. Very sad. And, Five of Wands also represents, like, this conflict of some kind. So there was shit happening. Shit happening in your life. You were good. You were good through this whole life. Like, you probably had shit thrown at you, but you persevered, I think. You had this unconditional love. Maybe not for yourself particularly, but you had love for the people around you, which also is, like, kind of a heavy indication of you being a teacher of some kind. Easy does it. This could obviously actually be a message from your past life to you, because, like, obviously, like, there was a lot of shit happening, lots of intense shit, a lot of conflict, and this is obviously just telling you to, like, right now in this life, maybe, like, there's a lot of conflict happening to you right now, and your past life is just like, dude, fucking chill. Yeah, like, there was just a lot of conflict. Actually, speaking of fucking conflict, oh yes, conflict and Age of Revolution definitely work. They weren't really, China, Mongolia, Taiwan, and the Western Middle East weren't really involved, really, in the Age of Revolution, really much at all. So, I don't know how exactly that's gonna work. I mean, maybe there was, like revolution time in those areas, in that time period. Or maybe, like, it's not even during those specific time periods, but maybe it's during a revolution of some kind of revolution in one of those countries that you were in. I mean, there was, like, the Crusades that happened in the Middle East. There's that. China conquered everything, so I know there had to be a revolution somewhere around there. Taiwan, I know, is, like, the island that the Chinese kind of pushed everyone that they didn't like onto that island. So that's obviously a revolution type of thing. So I'm spewing facts and stuff. But either way, like, maybe you were poor, but you were good and you wanted to teach people, and you had this unconditional love, but there was, like, this conflict and this sadness that kind of interrupted that. And yeah, it's kind of all I got. Again, I'm just handing you the puzzle pieces. You kind of have to make the puzzle yourself. But yeah, that's all I got, really. So, teacher, Age of Revolution, 1774 to 1850. Good and light, China, Mongolia, Taiwan, Western Middle East. Stone Age, 87,000 BCE to 2000 BCE. And poor. High Priestess, fertility, Five of Wands, Nine of Swords reversed, Strength reversed, Queen of Cups reversed, Easy Does It, and Unconditional Love. Onward to pile 7. I'm sorry, I keep hitting the mic and shit. Is it pile 7? At this point, I don't give a shit. It's just a pile. Okay. 10 of Swords, 3 of Swords, 6 of Cups reversed, 6 of Pentacles reversed. Okay. Home and start delegating. Ooh. Oh, okay. 2 locations that I fucking love. 3 locations that I fucking love. Religious, sexual, and known. Yeah, this is a variety of fuckery. That will not make sense altogether. So Pacific Islands, New Zealand, Hawaii, those islands, Korea's, and Japan, United Kingdom, and Ireland. So a lot of people are gonna vibe with this one because I know a lot of people have had lives in those locations. Known, sexual, and religious. Very, very opposite 3 things. Like, specifically religious and sexual. There's a lot of pain, though. Like, 3 of Swords and then 10 of Swords. Very heavy cards. I mean, 3 swords stabbing through 1 heart. Heavy card. And then 10 of Swords. A lot of swords. Just really fucking heavy. Ooh, okay. So there's like this depression aspect. There's this sexual aspect. There's this religious aspect. There's this known aspect. What I mean by known, I mean like you were a well-known person. Like that not everyone, like a lot of people in your area knew you. Maybe you weren't exactly an authority figure, but you were well known. Like you had a good voice. 6 of Cups, like just 6s in general generally mean like things are turning into your favor, like good luck. Luck is coming your way. So, again, very different from everything else. So this is pretty much a clusterfuck of information. So, depression, getting luck, like maybe you were depressed and then you got better. You were well known, you had a voice, you were sexual, and you were religious. So I don't know, and I really don't know what to make of these cards, because it really is just a clusterfuck of information. Even these cards don't really fucking match. Home, start delegating, ask others, including me, to help you, instead of trying to do everything by yourself. This could be an indication of the depression aspect of it. Yeah, I really, I can't really dwell on this one that much, because it's a clusterfuck. I mean, all these areas were religious in some way. Obviously, United Kingdom and Ireland, fucking Catholicism and Protestantism, Protestant. Korea and Japan, Buddhism, Pacific Islands, paganism, maybe? I don't really know the, old religions of Hawaii and New Zealand. Maybe, Nah, I don't know. I don't, like, maybe you were a known religious figure? Or maybe you were a very well-known sexual person? Or well-known to be sexual? Yeah. I don't know. Like, there's no way to put these together, really. Maybe you were religious and you got sexual and people found out and you got depressed, but then you got lucky. And you had heavy emphasis on home. I don't really know. So, yeah, I really don't know how to, like, piece together this one. So, hopefully a lot of people vibe with this one and, like, have a little more puzzles pieced together, because, like, maybe you got a pile that didn't have a location, and, like, maybe, like, you vibe with one of these locations and you're just like, oh. And maybe you didn't get any of these cards, religious or sexual particularly, and, like, you vibe with one of those, or maybe you'd vibe with the depression thing. So yeah, I don't know how to connect any of these. Pacific Islands, New Zealand, Hawaii, etc. United Kingdom plus Ireland, Korea's and Japan. Known, sexual, religious. Start delegating, home. Six of Pentacles, Ten of Swords, Six of Cups, Three of Swords. Okay. Pile 8. Okay. Go outside, undying love, Seven of Pentacles, King of Cups, ooh, the Lover's card, Ace of Pentacles, and Seven of Swords. So we have undying love and the Lover's card. And love, look at that shit. Guardian, guide, ancient times, modern period, he, parent, child. So, I'm gonna get heavy influence of this was the life that you met your soulmate. Or had, like, not met your soulmate, but, like, you and your soulmate had a very strong relationship, or, like, you were together. I'm sorry, my boob touched the mic. So, this could be in ancient times, or literally the exact opposite, the, like, 1900s. So, the both world, wow. You know what I mean. Anyway, so this was either super fucking old or super fucking recent. So this was probably either your oldest life or the life right before this one. And I don't have a location, sadly, so hopefully you were drawn to another pile that gave you a location that you were drawn to. Which I know that there is multiple piles like that. Child, parent, he. So, I'm getting a heavy influence that you were a guy, only because, like, the he card and, like, the King of Cups, I mean, even the King of Cups is all about, like, fucking romance and love and shit. So, again, heavy influence on love. But also a heavy influence of you're probably a guy. Again, not everyone was fitting into that. But there is a kind of depression aspect with this life. Seven of Swords usually means, like, you're holding on to, like, pain longer than normal. Because she is holding swords, and carrying them, like, blade down, so okay. You were probably hurt before you met your soulmate, but after you met your soulmate, of course, there's, like, a heavy influence on love with this whole thing. Undying love, Lover's card, love. So, you had a good fucking life after you met them, but I think before, maybe you were just hurt somehow by someone, by something, and that really, like, ate at you. This Seven of Pentacles also is a heavy indication of waiting. So, you probably were in a lot of pain. Not from, from other people, yes, but, like, in general, like, the weight, I think, hurt you from being with your soulmate. So maybe you met your soulmate a little later in life, maybe, like, back then, like, probably, like, later in life, 20s, maybe, late teens. Remember, back then, people didn't live as long, so late is, like, the 20s, pretty much. So maybe you didn't have the best relationships before you met them, and I think you had to wait. There was a lot of waiting before they entered your life. Ace of Pentacles, again, beginning. But again, like, after you met them, or even before, you could have had, like, a child or children before you met them. Maybe, but, like, there's a heavy indication of child and parent. So you were probably a parent, and you probably had kids in this life. Parent and child came up, so again, this is, like, a heavy indication, like, you had kids with your soulmate, after you met them. So there's also go outside. This also could be an indication of the depressed waiting stage before you met them. Maybe you were a bit more of a hermit and you didn't interact with people as much before you met them. I don't know, really, how to connect to go outside. But, by the way, when I say ancient times, I mean, like, ancient Egypt and Rome and Greece and that general time period. I'm just getting a heavy influence of, like, love and, like, soulmate and just love in this life. A little pain, but mostly love and family and children and being a parent. Pretty good. Pretty good. Seven of Swords reversed, King of Cups, Ace of Pentacles reversed, Lover's card, Seven of Pentacles. Go outside, undying love. Parent, child, love, he, guide, guardian, ancient times, modern, 1900s to present. And the last card. By the way, this is a frog. Anyway, okay. Transformation. That's the death card. The sun. 6 of wands. 3 of wands. Ace of swords. And 8 of swords. Ace and 8 of swords. Okay. Reciprocity, focused intention. Western Europe. Ooh, royal. Ooh, look at that shit. Royal. Southern North America, USA, Mexico, and then down to South America. Money. Oh, look at this shit. Twin flames. Fear. Orphan. Southern South America. Middle Ages. Ooh. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay. Alright. You were a orphan. A royal orphan. Could definitely narrow that shit down. If we really wanted to, because I know there's not a lot of orphan royalty out there. By the way, though, with royalty, I don't necessarily mean princess, prince, king, queen. I also mean like dukes and earls and duchesses and stuff like that. That are part of the royal family, but not like the royal family, essentially, is what I mean. So you're probably a part of a royal family. Again, heavy emphasis on that, because again, like got the money card. So you were probably born into money, but you were an orphan. So your parents died when you were young, or your mother died from childbirth, and then your dad died later, and that made you an orphan, so you inherited all this fucking titles and monies and shit. Transformation is the death card. This could easily represent the death of your parents and you becoming an orphan, because the death card doesn't necessarily always mean death physically, but it means like this drastic change, and becoming an orphan is this drastic change. So the sun is a bit positive. It is positive, but it's one of those iffy cards. Again, the sun could also be an emphasis on you being royal. 6 of Wands kind of, if I remember it correctly, means like you were the shit. Like you were well known and famous. 3 of Wands though mean oh my god. Oh, this 8 of Swords could definitely 100% mean, like, represent, like, that gilded cage that royals always have. Because you can't do a lot of shit if you have royal blood. I mean, for example, look at, like, the restrictions made on, what's her face, who just married, what's his face? the royal wedding that just happened, if you look up, like, all the restrictions that she has to go through to become part of the royal family, that shit's restricting. And, like a gilded cage, and it's just not happy. So this could easily represent, like, that gilded cage that royalty kind of gives. Ace of Swords could definitely... Ace of Swords is like a beginning card, and since it's swords, it could definitely represent, like, the death of your parents. Like, getting killed. Because it's swords. But I think you were born into this, like, privilege, and you were just unhappy a lot of the time. But you put up this, like, face. Because, like, I get a good impression of this. Like, you put up this, like, popular and well-known and good leader and like this face up front. But then, like, back when you were alone, like, you are just lost and sad and stuff, and, like, that's your main public front, but what you really were was depressed and sad and, like, trapped. And, like, you being an orphan didn't fucking help. The Sun card kind of also, again, represents the royal aspect, but, it could represent that you eventually got happy with your life as you got older. But, okay, orphan, royal, fear. Again, the gilded cage, fear. You had fear of, like, getting out of the cage. Twin flame could easily mean, like, you met your twin flame, and that's, like, the sun that you meet. I don't remember, like, what card represents twin flames, but I don't know if it's the sun or not. It could, like, it easily could, because, you know, sun, fire, bleh. So, this could, like, easily be an influence on your twin flame that you met. And maybe you meet your twin flame, and that's the thing that kind of makes you happier. Focused intention, reciprocity, keep your unwavering thoughts, feelings, and actions focused on your target, and you will make your mark. Allow yourself to receive. This will increase your intuition, energy, and ability to give to others. This could definitely be an indicator of you closing yourself off because you're so depressed. And this could easily be an indication of, like, your duties of being in the royal family. Like, you need to stay focused on, like, what the family wants, or what your country wants. I have no idea, like, what royal station you are. Middle Ages, Southern South America, Western Europe, Southern North America. Again, you don't generally have to connect with any of these locations. I mean, you could easily probably, you could easily connect with this, because Western Europe is specifically France and Spain. And obviously France and Spain are, like, highly royalty and, like, had kings and queens. So you could definitely be from Spain and France, and you could have been definitely part of that royal family in those two countries. But, like, you also got the Americas, and there is no royalty over here in the Americas at all in the history of Americas, except maybe the Aztec and the other South American cultures, but like the atypical royals didn't really exist in the Americas. It's mostly in Europe. So you probably are drawn to France or Spain. So we could easily look up like an orphan between those time periods, and there you go. But that's like literally probably only for one person. That's very specific to that. But either way, this could also be non-royalty. Like, I mean, if anything, like the money could just be an aspect of you getting born into money, not necessarily a title, but you were born into money. And that, again, you have to put up this face of like being part of a rich family and shit. But again, I'm getting a heavy influence, at least, of the orphan part, and just being depressed about it and feeling trapped and stuff like that. So hopefully something vibed with you in this. Middle Ages, 401 AD to 500. Southern South America. Southern North America, U.S., Mexico, and the islands, Bahamas and Puerto Rico and stuff. Western Europe, Twin Flame, Money, Fear, Orphan. Okay. 8 of Swords reversed, 3 of Wands reversed, 6 of Wands, Transformation, Death, Ace of Swords, the Sun, Diana, Focused Intention, Hathor, Reciprocity. Anyway, I'm gonna go because my camera battery is dying and I finished all the card piles and I'm very tired and it's midnight and I'm going to go to bed now. I hoped I gave you enough puzzle pieces. Again, I'm going to make more past life videos, but in the future I'm probably just gonna make each video 5 piles because 9 piles, man, was way too much for me physically. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Okay, bye guys.